Hi.
Hi, I'm so excited that you could join and have Alexandra with you too.
Of course. She's super
Oh.
excited.
So today I'm super excited as well because we're launching our SuperMama series. And so the whole premise is for you to be able to just tell your story, and we're featuring moms like from birth and beyond. So I'll let you tell your story. You're Lena, and how old's Alexandra?
She's going to be 3 months on Monday, next Monday. So she's
Woo!
growing fast.
She's growing so quick, and so I wanted to ask, what does the typical 24 hours look like for you? Like, what did the last 24 hours look like?
Um, a lot of feedings and changing diapers and a lot of snuggles.
Are you feeding like every hour, every 2 hours now?
So honestly, I don't really keep track anymore. I did in the very beginning, just because I wanted to make sure that my supply was good enough. But at this point, I'm just kind of letting her guide me. And I stopped tracking it because it was making me go insane. So whenever she tells me she's hungry, I feed her. I think it's about every 3 to 4 hours at this point, but sometimes she does go a little bit like longer stretches. And then sometimes if she's hungry after an hour and a half, then I feed her after an hour and a half.
Oh, I think she's growing like so appropriately as well, and that's really great that you have like gotten down that cue-based feeding because that's quite evidence-based actually. Even in hospitals, they're trying to train nurses how to use that in the NICU. So, what is something, if you'd be like vulnerable about the birthing process that you weren't really expecting? And did you have anything that you wish you knew going into the birthing process?
um, that's a little hard one. So for me, my birthing experience itself was a little bit traumatic. Everything that I wanted didn't happen. So I think my biggest for the next child is to go with the expectations of not having any expectations, because I think that that's the hardest part. Just talking with other moms, I feel like a lot of mothers have expectations of what they want their birth to look like. And here I was, eating really healthy, taking care of myself, and having this expectation of I'm going to have a full 100% natural water birth, no medications. And then I came out with a C-section. So I think that just no expectations is probably the best method.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, how long did that process take you before you realized that you were going to transition to C-section, if you're willing to share some of that?
So I was in labor for 42 hours. And I think that even towards the end, I still had a mentality of like, nope, I can do this, I can push. But at that point, it was kind of conflicting with how she was acting and her heart rate was going up. So at that point, they were the ones that told me that they had to do a C-section. So I didn't really have a choice in that sense. But I was very determined, and I think that's why I had such a long, grueling labor, which I probably should have listened to my body instead of my mind hours before, and probably just kind of gave in.
That just reminds me, Lena, of the funny meme that you posted about Russian trainers versus American trainers. It's like, nope, keep going, keep pushing.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the times in pregnancy and just motherhood in general, I think it's better to listen to your body and not your mind. Because I think you read so much and you talk to so many other people that your mind tries to dictate of like, no, this is how I should be doing something with my baby. Maybe I need to sleep train. But I think if your body's telling you that what you're doing is working, or, to rest, then you need to listen to your body and not what you told yourself what it would be.
I think that's beautiful advice, definitely for the audience, and especially as a first-time mother, the fact that you've gotten to this point inside of 3 months, and I've watched you like come into this experience of motherhood like so gracefully, and everyone's fear is like just wanting to do the best thing for their child. And so you're sort of looking around for cues and for resources and to the internet or to other people's experience to tell you is what you're doing right. And you, like you said, there's really no right or wrong. Like this experience with you and Alexandra is totally dynamic. What her body needs is going to be different from, what your next child would need, even in terms of feeding and in terms of rest. So that's really intuitive, and I can see how it's actually like benefiting you. She's so healthy.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that even like in the beginning, I tried to do like I was keeping track of when I was feeding her. I was keeping track of all of her dirty diapers and when she was peeing, when she was pooping, and then like the day before, I would take her for a nap, let's say at 12 o'clock every single day. And then all of a sudden, I'm putting her down at 12 o'clock and she's being fussy about it. I think you just have to let everything roll and go with the punches and not be so controlling, because that's gonna be like put something bad in your mental state, thinking that like what you're doing is wrong, but every baby is different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious because I know that you eat a plant-based diet. You've taken really good care of your body up until this point. Did you have any expectations, sort of like you were talking about wishing you had dropped around the birth surrounding the breastfeeding process?
um what do you mean dropped?
Did you like, because with the birth you were saying you kind of wish you dropped expectations, and so similarly with breastfeeding, did you have any expectations around that, or what's something that you wish that you knew about that process?
So I was just really determined to breastfeed in general. Because of my delivery and I lost a lot of blood. They did tell me at the hospital that it was going to take a while before I'm able to produce and feed her. So at the hospital, I was getting donor's milk and I was using something called SNS. So then that way it would stimulate my milk production. And then I was pumping around the clock. So whenever I got home, I had an angel that actually gave me her donor's milk because I still wasn't able to produce.
Yeah.
So I was using the donor's milk, I was doing the SNS, stimulating the breast, and I was pumping right after with a newborn. And I did that for 2 weeks, and I was going insane. And I think that was when it clicked for me to drop the expectations, because I was saying, like, I was ready to give up, and I had a doctor's appointment like the next day, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to ask them what the best like formula is, the most organic, and go from there. And because I was just having so much trouble producing milk, so I dropped pumping during the nighttime feeds. I was only doing the donors and the SNS.
Yeah.
And the next day, I actually got a good amount of rest, and then I started producing milk.
Wow. Yes.
I think that that's when it like clicked. I'm like, I need to just listen to what my body is saying. And if it's saying I'm tired, I need to go to bed. And
Yeah.
then that's what I did. And I actually started producing from that point on, and no formula.
Oh my gosh, that critical point after 2 weeks where you like felt so exhausted and you felt like you wanted to give up, and it really was just that ability to sort of like step into ease and almost like surrender and
Mhm.
give your body the chance to, like, because it is calorie consuming, right? It's like it is, you burn about 500 calories, right, with like every pumping session. So I think that's such a miracle story, especially like because this was something that was really important to you and through this process. And so I was wondering if anything is like making that feeding journey easier for you right now, or if there's any products that you're trying or like services that you are like, this is a godsend. Like it doesn't have to be around breastfeeding, just around sleep, around anything.
Um, I wouldn't say that there's like any particular product that's just a complete godsend. I think the biggest thing is honestly just listening to your body. And even when I reached out to you, because I needed rest, because even after doing the SNS and the pumping and finally getting the production, I was so over her constantly being on me and attached to me.
Yeah.
Um, about using any type of other bottle that's not specific to, you know, my breast, because the last thing I wanted was for her to try so hard to get my own breast milk and to stimulate to get that milk production, and then have her start wanting just a bottle, and then, you know, risking the fact of I may not lose production.
Yeah.
So that you were a godsend, because I was able to get some rest. And I know I reached out to you. I was going to a wedding. I was going to be away from her for the entire weekend. So I was panicking. So that's been able to give me a little bit of rest just in between feedings, or, you know, even at night when I can have my partner feed her.
Yeah.
That's been helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember like that moment, if you don't mind me sharing, because you're the maid of honor, you know, had like, you have this brand new baby at home. Like, this is your first time, like, really being away and separated. And so you had your doula there with her, and you were like so diligent and persistent with your pumping in between like bridal shower activities, or um, the activities for the bride getting ready. And so that must have just been, you know, just a little bit of peace of mind, like knowing that. I know you got pictures of your partner who was like, kind of like the Meet the Focker style, holding the natural nipple here. He's like, yep, she's taking it great. Like she's taking her pumped milk. And I'm happy to hear that it gave you just a little bit of, you know, your freedom back, but also the peace of mind knowing that you're nourishing your baby the way you wanted to, and like the best way for you. And just even being able to create those windows where, you know, you can get a little bit more sleep probably makes those moments where you come back to breast and you have that skin to skin that much more enjoyable and special.
100%, because I think that at that point I was just exhausted. And you know, breastfeeding isn't always like this beautiful bonding experience. Sometimes it's just grueling and exhausting, and I think having that as a little bit of an escape of, you know, I need some my own space, I need my body for like 15 minutes, you take a bottle, definitely helps out a lot.
I need my body for 15 minutes. I love that you know, you pointed that out, because I think sometimes when women feel like this is, you know, their duty, and they're almost like, you know, they have to be attached to this new human constantly nourishing them, like at any point during a 24-hour period. That can, I think, maybe take away a little bit of your sense of autonomy. And this is just a little bit of a reminder, like, you're still you, and you're still doing like what evolution has created you to do, is create this milk. You're still giving her like great antibodies as well. But I had, you know, a client come through that had 7 months where they were literally the only source of nourishment for the baby, because they were exclusively breastfeeding for 3, and then the baby wouldn't take another bottle. And so can you imagine, like, so that means 16 months have gone by and you haven't had an adult drink. And so like when she got the natural nipple, she's like, I was just able to like go out and have a little me time, and my mom could feed the baby. And it was like, that blew my mind. I'm like, okay, you're getting like your freedom back, you're getting a little bit of your life back, and you're still doing the best thing for your child.
Yeah, and I actually remember talking to my doula. She breastfed exclusively for 2 years. And I just looked at her and I was like, I have, like, all props to you. Obviously, everyone is different and their capabilities are different, but I'm like, I just don't know if I would be able to just exclusively breastfeed for 2 years. That's insane.
Really hard. I'm sure I could do it either. Hi, sweets. Look at those big eyes. Oh. Okay, so before the natural nipple, like before you tried that, have you tried any other feeding products?
I not, and that was mainly because I was so nervous to try. Sorry, my phone is vibrating.
Oh, you're
Um,
good.
I was so nervous to try anything else just because I had such difficulty getting the stimulating in the breast milk, that the last thing I wanted was for her to start wanting just a bottle, and then me being kind of screwed.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of had this like knowledge from prior experience, whether it be friends or whether it be through knowing the work that I was doing, that latching frustration can exist after introducing bottles. And so were you, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, before you introduced the natural nipple, just getting her to latching to breast, were you experiencing any of that frustration?
I wasn't, which I actually didn't know that I was one of the lucky ones in that, because I didn't know that so many people have issues with the baby actually latching on. And I didn't have that problem, thank God. But I think it's just luck. She's a smart, I don't know.
He's a smart one. So it wasn't taking you, like, it was probably taking you under a minute to get a good latch, like immediately.
Yep.
You're intuitive just like your mama. um, so yeah, I was just wondering if the natural nipple introduction, did it alter that latching time afterwards? Did it change it at all?
It didn't, in a sense, like if you're saying if it got like worse, it might have gotten a little bit better. But she honestly was so quick already to begin with that it's kind of hard to, I don't know, I guess navigate and give you like a full on answer if it got 100% better, but she's quick to latch on.
Good. And like, yeah, so many parents that I've spoken with, like, I think you were really like fortunate that you were able to exclusively not try any products, because I know 92% afterwards were really having trouble getting the baby back to breast because they get used to either totally the breast or totally some new shape, feel, and flow from a bottle. And sometimes, like, I don't know if this was your experience at all, but usually it's like when the baby starts getting a little older and teething, the flimsy silicone can kind of make the baby bite more, and then when they come back to breast, bite more and cause pain. So I don't know if you were experiencing any pain with latching prior or after.
So I was experiencing a little bit of pain prior, but I also don't know if that was because I was pumping and with the amount of just intervention that I was doing to get the right, I guess, amount of breast milk to feed my baby. I think that may have something to do with it too, but I don't experience any pain now. Thank
Uh,
God.
Thank God, yeah, because you were going at it for, like you said, you were waking up in the middle of the night to pump as well. So like on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you say that was before?
The pain level,
Yeah.
I'm probably 5. And I think that's when I actually texted you too, because I was like, I need your product. I am literally going insane and I need a break because I have so much pain. So, and you literally came to the rescue like a week after.
Oh, thank God. I'm so happy to hear that. And also, like, you're not alone in terms of, the pumping regimen, how that can create a lot of pain. Because I don't know if this is an issue for you. It looks like your flanges were fitting pretty good. But similarly to, how we created custom nipples after 3D scanning women's breasts, I had mom say, like, you should utilize this for making pump flanges that fit way better, because if there's any space, like, and it's not totally tailored, that negative pressure over time can kind of create some skin breakdown. And I'm so happy to hear, like, that you're not experiencing that anymore, because the last thing you need after being exhausted, like listening to a screaming infant, is to have these like raw nipples, right?
Yeah, no, that's definitely rough. And I did have that problem because whenever I got like my pump, whatever it was, for my health insurance, and they just give you like 2 different sets of the sizes. I don't know. What are they called? Flanges?
The flanges, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. And then when I was in the hospital, I brought the pump with me just in case, or when I went into into labor, and they gave me a couple of more so they were able to like size, because when I initially started pumping in the hospital I was having pain. So I was lucky enough for them to kind of like give me the right size in the hospital, but I do see how it's not 100% tailored, so it does cause some breakage and some pain sometimes, definitely, especially if somebody was pumping or exclusively pumping.
That I like, gosh, so much credit to anybody who has, I know someone that exclusively pumped for like a full year. And like, can you imagine as well, like just being in the workplace and having to take these breaks? And my heart really goes out. So if there's any, I'm thinking forward and like if there's any ways we can sort of make that process more efficient, because if the flange fits better, there's less discomfort and there's also less time to actually
Mhm.
like volume out that you need. So that's really great insights, Lena. Thank you for kind of giving us like this deep dive from birth all the way to breastfeeding now, and also thank you for your honest feedback on our product, being one of our beta testers, because my goal, you know, before we launched pre-orders is just to make sure that we know ways we can improve to really help real parents overcome those barriers to breastfeeding. So we want your feedback. If there's anything you could tell other moms about the product, like this is your audience. You can let them know truly how you feel.
I mean, honestly, I think that I'm different from a lot of moms too, because like you mentioned, 92% of people use other products, so I don't have anything to compare it to. But I know that what I've read in terms of, you know, them using a certain bottle type or just the nipple, they can have the confusion. They don't no longer want your nipple. That can also decrease your milk production. I didn't experience any of that introducing the natural nipple. So I'm just grateful for this, because that all I want to do is make sure that she gets the proper nutrients and gets the breast milk that I'm able to produce. So I think it's just huge that I'm still able to feed her from my breast or give her the bottle without any issues, you know, going back and forth. Because I was definitely really afraid for that.
Well, I'm so happy, and I'm sure Anthony is excited as well, like that he's able to help nourish and like be a part of this journey too, and like give you a chance to have a break. And thank you so much for just like being authentic, sharing like your tips with moms about listening to your body and really prioritizing rest over, you know, what you think you're supposed to be doing. um, if that is what your body is, you know, telling you to do. And so, is there anything else that maybe I didn't hit on with a question that you think would be wonderful for like a first time mom to know?
Um, we kind of just touched on it a second ago about Anthony being able to feed her. And I think that is so huge as a first time mom or just a newly mom in general. You get so tired. You're barely even like you're in a fog because you're so tired. And the baby is constantly screaming for the mother because you are the feeding source. You're the comfort, you're everything. So I think it was really important to introduce the bottle so Anthony's able to feed her, because now she's more calm with him too. In the beginning, he was so jealous that I could just pick her up and she would just soothe and quiet, where he would have to try everything to try to calm her down. So I think now that she actually knows that he's able to feed her too, I think that clicks in a human little body saying, you know, mom and dad both got me, which I think is huge.
Oh, that makes my heart so happy. Yes. Thank you so much, Lena, for sharing your journey. And also, I wanted to make everyone who's tuned in aware that Sunday, so Lena was one of our beta testers. And Sunday, actually, we're making pre-orders live on thenaturalnipple.com. And so you can actually use Lena's code, Lena15, to get 15% off, whether it be just the single latch match units. So based on your baby's age, you're going to get a data-driven flow that actually matches real mom's lactation averages. And if you want the starter kit, that actually includes this is like a great gift for somebody that has a baby shower. It's the full year breastfeeding journey. So every 2.5 months, there's an updated flow rate to grow with your baby and their feeding demands. So thank you so much for the process so that we can just ensure that we're doing everything possible to help parents overcome feeding barriers and really promote bonding as a family solution. So don't forget to use code Lena15. Sunday, everything goes live on thenaturalnipple.com. And yeah, we'll stay in touch, Lena.
Thank you. All
Thank you so much. Bye,
right. Bye.
Alexandra. Bye.